Hello, everyone. Welcome to a series of Fruitful Events, a series in which I talk about all the fruitful things that have happened in my life that I think could be a benefit to you. This is another episode, but not only is it another episode, it's the finale. Thank God, because love this series down, but we got to shut it down at some point. So this is me shutting it down because I cannot believe it took as long as it did to do this series. I intended on this series starting, I think, I want to say late September and have it done by the earliest late November and the latest mid-December. I'm coming at you live on January 2nd, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. It is what it is. So today's episode is about the tenacity of the human spirit. Now, I have been looking forward to doing this episode for a hot minute. It's here. Live, laugh, and love it. But in all seriousness, this is actually the episode I was looking forward to the most. And the reason being is because this specific platitude was one that was given by RuPaul, I want to say on either season 9 or 10. Don't remember which season, but I do remember him explicitly talking about the tenacity of the human spirit. And he talked about it, I want to say at some point in one of the finales for that series. And the series being RuPaul's Drag Race, if y'all live under a rock. But yeah, I have been looking forward to talking about this because ever since hearing it, it was one of those things that I understood in theory. And for some reason, it stayed with me. And it wasn't like a light bulb moment when I heard it the first time. It was kind of like the tenacity of the human spirit. And if I can kind of like go back to that specific time of when I did hear that, I think the time that I heard it, I interpreted it as like just being able to endure. And that is half true. And I do think that that is the main point. But now that I've gone through the journey that I've gone through in the last several years leading up to Fruitful Events, especially after having done unflavorable events, I realized that everything I do now is in frame and mind of that specific platitude, which I think is sickening the house down boots. Now, again, it did stay with me over the years, but if I had to really pinpoint when that phrasing really hit me was when I had a conversation with a friend of mine years ago about how it's funny because like since 2018, 2019 specifically, I have been in pursuit of finding stability in my life with both work and health. And work also includes my career as a drag queen and as a public figure, if you will. And I have been trying to find a way to really understand if there's a method to the madness of being able to go after the dreams that I have without risking my well-being. And it's funny because years ago, I really put myself in a position to kind of believe that in order to succeed, I had to forfeit my well-being. And maybe in some circumstances with certain fields of work that is applicable. But I also think that there is another side of that where you can be able to still get what you want without forfeiting your well-being. And I realized that that specific journey is a lot longer than doing it the other way. And now that I've gone through that journey and I'm on the other side of it, I don't regret having taken that time to do just this. But to go back to what I talked about with my friend, this conversation actually happened 2 years ago because the 4 years after 2019 has been about like trying to rebuild and reframe and to heal and etc. And I had like a lot of the spiritual girlies will call it the tower moment, which when you look at tarot, the Tower card is supposed to represent like sudden upheaval, but when it's reversed, it means like beautiful transformation, very incredible transformation. And I feel like I've lived both sides of that card in the last several years. And with that being said, 2 years ago, I remember telling this friend, like, I'm watching all of my friends succeed. I'm watching them go after their dreams. I'm seeing them find their version of happy. And I know that I have mine. I don't quite fully know what it looks like yet, but I know that I want it. And I also know that there are some things that I have to do to get to that journey. And yeah, I'll maybe aim for a specific destination, but I also know that the universe has other plans as well. But all this considered, I was just explaining to my friend how frustrated I was that I was seeing everyone succeed and I wasn't getting where I wanted to go, and that I felt like it was going to take years, eons to get where I wanted to go. And funny enough, it only took me 2 years. I genuinely thought it was going to take another 5 or 6. It took 2. Because also what I want to say too when I had this conversation was that I listed off all the things that they were doing well in their lives and all the ways that I looked up to them and all the ways that I was inspired by them and that I saw what their version of happy looked like. And when I listed all these things off, they looked at me dead in the eye and they were like, do you think this is fun? I thought it was. And what's funny about all of it is that I've kind of understood what this person meant after living these last 2 years specifically, because in the beginning of these last 2 years, well, yeah, it would technically be 3 because we're in 2025, but for all intents and purposes, because we're at the very beginning of 2025, 2 years. I pretty much remember having lost everything the same way that I lost everything in 2019, in terms of my drag career, in terms of all the things that I was striving for. I even lost stability in my day-to-day job that I had, and it was just so abrupt, but also something that I had to take accountability for. It wasn't something that I can blame another person for. It wasn't something that I could blame the universe for. I mean, yeah, there were things that were happening to me, but I think something that really helped me reframe everything was realizing that I am not what happens to me. I am how I react to what happens to me. And that's easier said than done, because I know that when people experience different traumas and different life events, it's going to impact others in many different ways. And everyone's tolerance to trauma, pain, suffering, and healing is completely different from the next person. And with that said, just speaking on my specific experience with my healing journey, I think looking back at what my friend said is true. Like, this is not fun. Like, it's so glamorous to go on Instagram and see all these cute little platitudes and tweets and posts and things that are like aesthetically pleasing to look at, that are talking about the healing journey. And a lot of it does have a lot of merit and truth, and I'm not discounting those posts, but it's very easy to look at the surface level of those quotes and understand things in theory, but until you live a specific experience is when you're kind of like, oh, I now understand what that platitude means. And the beautiful part about life is that it's not just confined to that specific context of that specific journey you're going through. It's something that is applicable in many different aspects of your life and many different times in many different ways. And I think that that is also beautiful, because it shows you that there's still more to learn in life. Like, even though you've learned one aspect of a lesson, there's still other ways to perceive said lesson. And I think, as frustrating as that is, I also think that's beautiful. Another thing that I really thought about when it came to these last couple of years, in pertinence to the phrasing of the tenacity of the human spirit, was realizing in the last couple months of 2024, was I really able to see that I was embodying exactly that. I think, to spare the details, I kind of went through a very serious moment with my career over the summer that made me realize, like, oh, all of this could go out the door if I don't really invest in growing and being honest with myself and taking accountability for the ways in which I mess up, in the ways that I could affect other people. And it's still a work in progress because this is something that I'm still trying to apply even outside of work. But I think what was beautiful about having done it at work was that I was able to, again, like I said before, apply it to every aspect of my life. And once I realized I was able to do that and take everything that I've talked about in Fruitful Events up to this point, was I able to realize, oh, I'm my own worst enemy. This is crazy. Like, I had to realize that part of the tenacity of the human spirit means realizing that the human experience is limited. If we're talking about the tenacity of the human spirit, I think we also need to have an honest conversation about how the spirit and the body are completely different things. The human experience is limited to the human body. And there are a lot of lessons that we can learn over time through our spirits. And I do believe in reincarnation and things like that. But let's just go with the mentality that this is it, the Michael Jackson tour. Like, all of this, like, this is it. And even with reincarnation, I do believe that this is still it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there will be... No, I know that there won't be another opportunity for me to be Hazel Berry ever again. Like, I can probably live other lives as other people with my spirit and endure those specific experiences. But, like, in pertinence to my life as Hazel Berry, like, if this is it, sis, I gotta remember that my physical body can only last so long, and my spirit being able to endure all the physical stamina, all the physical debris and stimuli that hits me when it comes to just life, whether it's like mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, even things that happen to me. I think remembering that this is it kind of made me realize, like, oh, like, I could die tomorrow and this could all end, and all I had was years of maladaptive daydreaming, years of living in gender dysphoria, years of just, for all intents and purposes, living in a place of fear. I don't care to live life that way anymore. And there is still scary stuff out there, I'm not going to hold you. And it is still scary to pursue going for my own happiness. But I rather pursue those things than to conform to anyone else's version of happy that they have planned for me. That is a you thing. If you have something in mind for me that you want me to have and gain. But, like, even if it is in alignment with what I personally want, like, I'm the one living this life. I'm the one in this body, and you are the one living in your body. So you can be able to do whatever you want to do in the time that you're allotted in this earth. And I know it's easier said than done, because these are things I feel like we always hear. I just think that it's very important to remember that we have to do the best we can with what we have. And as long as we can be able to say that at the end of the day, I think is when we can really, truly see the things we need to in this life and gain the things that we need to in this life. And that's all there is to it. There's still so much that I want to do in the future. And there's still so many things that I want to accomplish and experience and see for myself. And I think to kind of end it off with this is that I really discovered that I embodied the tenacity of the human spirit and believed it in two different times. I discovered that I embodied the tenacity of the human spirit when I chose to stay in this earth. I could have opted out at any point. And I know other people have. But again, in pertinence to my life and to my experience, when I actively chose to stay was when I realized over time that although I know that there are people that I need, there are also people that need me. There's life experiences that I have that I can impart on other people. There's insight that I have that I can impart on other people. There's art, things to create and things to discuss that I can impart on other people. And when I look at the last 2 years of my life, since the canon event that was almost making that decision to go, when I think about the people that have been in my life prior to that and think about the people that have come into it and the people that I've lost in the midst of all of it, I don't regret any of the things that I've done in terms of giving the love and energy that I needed to those people and receiving whatever I got from them. Because at the end of the day, it allowed me to get to this point, and I know that everything moving forward will allow me to get to the next thing. But all this to say, like, I realized that I believed it when I really truly saw that the people that I have in my life now, if I opted out of not being here, I would not be able to share me in the world and be able to make the positive impact I know I can, because I have things that are of value in my life and in my experience that I can share with others. And that's a really beautiful thing to come to the realization of. And I think more people should really take the time to discover and then eventually believe that to be the case. And I know that that journey is a lot more difficult than how I'm explaining it. And there's a lot more nuances in my life that have gotten me to this point. But all this to say, that same friend that I told you about not too long ago that told me, like, girl, is any of this really fun? They also gave me the insight of when experiencing failure, failure is not necessarily just that, it's pivoting. But above pivoting is also realizing that you get to wake up every day and be you. And I get to wake up every day and be me. I get to have the insight that I have now with the body that I have, with the life that I have. And I get to make the choices I do because of those experiences. I can choose differently from what I've experienced. I can choose the same things that I have up to this point. It's all up to me. And it's my life. And I'm no longer interested in living anywhere else but in the present moment and in being able to live my life for me. And again, like I said, making that choice is not easy. It's not fun. It's not glamorous, but it's rewarding. And I think that that is something that we need to really come to the place of understanding. My dog is barking, so that lets me know that my time is up. Love y'all down. Thank you for joining me on this journey with a series of Fruitful Events. It's been a pleasure to do this series, and maybe I'll do another season, but until I feel called to do that, this is it. The Michael Jackson tour. So thank you for being a part of this journey with me, and I hope you join me in the next part of my life, whatever that looks like. You can follow me on Instagram at the Hazel Berry, TikTok at the Hazel Berry, Twitter at the Hazel Berry. Don't friend me on Facebook. Don't do it. But other than that, yeah, you know where to find me, and I have other things that I want to do with YouTube, so I can't wait to do all that. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be glamorous. It's gonna be camp. And with that said, love you all. And until next time, stay juicy.